Hello again. It's been a little while. I've been quite busy preparing content and talking to distributors and so on. So I didn't get to upload the emails as I suggested in my last video. But what I've done in the description, I've included two extracts from email exchange between myself and Richard Middleditch at the FCA, where I complained about this coordinated coercion. This was back in July of last year. I also sent a similar email, but in more detail, to South Tyneside Council, who were part of that, in terms of this investigation into the shortcomings of the regulatory system, and also the trading of children, vulnerable children, with private equity, and how it all linked to the financial system at one end, leading to poor outcomes for the victims of financial scandal, and the other seeing children traded like stocks and bonds with private equity owned agencies, the same business model that underpinned the rape gang scandal, which involved complicity of the police, local authorities and social services. So in this email exchange, the key part is, Middleditch said, well, if you feel under threat, so on and so forth, you can report it to the police, which of course my local police is Northumbria Police, who have shown themselves to be an instrument of this very same coordinated coercion, which is what I said in my short response. So really, events have proven me to be absolutely correct. If we then sort of jump forward to October, where I posted videos and also some text saying I'd had enough of the coordinated coercion, they were sort of on the South Tyneside angle, were subjecting my wife to quite a lot of humiliation. They destroyed our younger daughter's Polish heritage to make her easier as a tradable asset, as I explained, and other videos. Part of this child trading model involves the emotional sterilization of the child, stripping the emotional links between the child and the parent to make them a frictionless financial asset to be traded with private equity owned institutions. And you see the same again. Our daughter's been packaged around now somewhere in Durham. We actually know where, but we won't. So we just monitor really. And she's now somewhere in Durham with a man. And there's this sort of deniability along the chain. You've got the legal professionals who are sending the social workers in to engage in illegal action. I've shown you Ryan's emails, blatant suppression of the Polish heritage. The degeneracy of it is incredible. Even my wife has elderly parents, wants to visit them, to help them. Who won't rearrange meetings to see younger daughter, because we've challenged these degenerate methods. I've shown you how evidence is falsified, gross abuse of office by Rachel Hudson, unsigned falsified statements. I've shown you evidence of the suppression of the Polish culture, banning use of Polish. Can't even ask her about Polish heritage now. These are clear, degenerate, illegal actions. Northumbria Police are fully aware of these actions, have taken no action, which is what my emails exchange with Middleditch said. I know they won't get involved. Go into the October when I complained about these on videos. I'd mentioned a judge is on notice, actually quite a few of them that are on notice, but then I got this police state terror from Northumbria Police. They use this false pretext of vandalism, which I've covered on videos. I told you right at the start on the case channel what they were doing to take away our devices, to search for evidence we've got in terms of what we're going to publish in terms of the FCA regarding wealth tech and how they've let down people, how the regulated prosecutor model really lets down the victims of scandals, even when those scandals the FCA have a role in terms of incompetency. They're concerned about how this child trafficking model, trading trafficking model, where children are taken from their parents, subjected to mass psychological abuse, traded like assets with private equity owned institutions, how that all leads into the financial system. They're deeply concerned about the research we've got. They won't find really anything of great note on the devices. It will still go ahead, but all they've done is they've proven what I've said. There's a coordinated line of coercion. Another significant factor is one that the couple of devices have some remnants of recorded material. We got backed up, and it involves some recordings with the South Tyneside Council, demonstrating how they have destroyed our younger daughter's Polish heritage, cultural genocide, undertakings for them to write to us to say, why all of a sudden she lost interest in her Polish heritage, that she currently, according to them, nobody can ask her this, of course, because they use the child as a tool of blackmail to hide their own corruption. You see, this is a very common technique throughout the UK, degenerate system as it is. Nobody can verify it. Recorded undertakings from South Tyneside Council, recordings of them bullying my wife and so on and so forth, undertaking saying, why did she lose interest in her Polish heritage? And they've never responded as they promised they would. There's also a very, very important one. It's all backed up, but I confront Deirdre Ryan about this coordinated coercion, because we've got threats on their side saying if I continue with this, this research and these publications, right away from the FCA side through the family courts, they would block us from seeing our daughter, which they went on to do. This is a public meeting, put it to her. She just went quiet and wouldn't even deny it. And after that, I was banned from meetings, of course, because I'd raised something that was of extreme importance. But that's very, very important to the WealthTech case as well, which is one of the reasons why they want these devices. But if they've tampered with that and they've removed it and they withhold it, that'll have extremely serious implications, very, very wide ranging. So, but in terms of, I just want to reflect a bit on when I raise this concept of the Epstein class, if you like. And it does have some validity because it looks at the degeneracy of the institutions and people that govern us. And you've seen that in, the social services, the trading of children with private equity owned institutions. You've seen it with the rape gang situation. It's the same business model. But you've also seen it with this this crisis with Iran. Let's look at Starmer, International Man of Straw Starmer, eventually allowing the US access to British bases to carry out destruction in Iran. Defensive. We're not in the war, but we are in the war. Of course, it's offensive. There were large B-52 bombers leaving the UK facilities. They're not going for defensive action. They're carrying out large-scale destruction. And even after Trump's deranged post calling for the warning of the almost the death of a civilization, so that is essentially genocide. We all know that genocide has happened also in Gaza and to a degree in Lebanon as well. And nobody's come out and condemned it. The US should never have been allowed to use UK bases. Nothing to do with the people in America. It shouldn't have been done on the basis that Trump's policy was wrong. He uses similar language. It reminds me when I, I've read things like Mein Kampf. It was a really, really difficult read. Hitler used the same degenerate, awful language. Annihilation of Jews, Slavs, anybody else who got in his way. Terrible, terrible, terrible language. And Trump's language reminded me of that. I'm not saying they're like for like. Hitler clearly is in a category of his own for obvious reasons, but it's similar language that people have, Starmers, Coopers, over here, who's come out to condemn him for that language? If that language were used by other leaders like Putin, you'd never see, there'd be outrage. You'd never see Xi Jinping use language like that at all. But because it's Trump, we are silent. And there is, if you look at what's happening in Iran now, it's absurd. Essentially, we have a ceasefire, which is good. Hopefully it will lead to no more destruction and death. But essentially the Iranians have got more control over the Strait of Hormuz than they had prior to Trump's illegal war. So it's an absolute disaster. And the fact that we were even, at least the Spanish Prime Minister had the common sense to say, we're having nothing to do with this. We, under international man of law, international man of straw, Starmer, obviously straw being a play on law, tried to have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Just shows you the cowardice and duplicity of the man and the degeneracy of our politicians and the people who run our society. And, Northumbria Police have really disgraced themselves by allowing themselves to be used as a tool of coordinated coercion, coming into our house, stealing our devices, terrorizing my wife on the basis of us showing that there's gross abuse of office in the family court system, showing cultural genocide of our daughter, and showing how this degenerate model just flips children around like financial assets. And you'll see the same. We actually said to Ryan, we brought up a number of concerns about the welfare and safety of our younger daughter, never mind the cultural genocide they've refused to address. We do have a response to unpick that they eventually got round to sending to the Polish consulate, which is an absolute embarrassment. And what they try to do, your solicitors, the solicitors put it on the social workers, and the social workers say it's the agency. You'll see exactly the same flow of deniability in the rape gangs scandal. It's exactly the same. Britain has not learned. This is a degenerate system run by degenerate people. And, that's where we are. And another one, for instance, you might want to look at is, we're celebrating JP Morgan investing huge amounts of money in London, and in one sense that's a good thing. But isn't it strange, this Epstein situation? We now, in America, they have a new Attorney General, which I'm assuming will be trying to put a lid and take some of the sting out of the Epstein files. But we're almost invited to believe that all the money that flowed around through Epstein and his various relations and activities, nobody's asking about money laundering and things like that. The key institutions that were involved in that didn't pick it up or do anything about it. Maybe it's all Jess Staley's fault. Maybe we can put it all on Staley. I don't know. It does make you wonder, doesn't it, how where we have the FCA have not gone to any of these institutions and said we need to talk about potential money laundering in these particular time periods. It all comes down to money, and as I said in Lost to the Races, money laundering is a technical term, but it's a very, very political one in how it's interpreted. Take care. Bye.